Hey everybody, Luke Parsons here with Corporate Fitness Works, and I'm going to be going over week 3 of our Back to Basics campaign, where I'm going to talk about the squat. Now, there's very few things you do in your day-to-day life more than squatting. Like when you get into bed or get out of bed, sit down at your desk or get up from your desk, or sit down to eat or get up from eating. So it's something you're just constantly doing. So training the squat aside from your daily routine is going to be really important for your overall hip and knee health. A lot of problems we see over time is caused by tightness throughout the glutes, hamstrings, as well as the quads, as well as overuse injuries from potentially squatting incorrectly. So again, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over a proper form, a couple form focus points, as well as address several common mistakes and how to fix those. And at the very end, we'll go over a bunch of different squat variations to help make sure you guys are super well rounded. Form focus point number 1, starting with the hips. So a lot of times when people squat, the first thing they think is just going straight down. But the first thing you want to do is have your hips drop straight back. So what you're going to do is get those feet in a position, dropping the hips back, and then you're coming down. All right, so if the hips don't drop back first, it leads to other issues which we'll expand on more later. But again, just make sure the first thing you're doing, get in that position, hips drop straight back, and then you're dropping down into your squat. Form focus point number 2, keep your heels down. And again, a lot of these are going to be tied to that first form focus point about starting with the hips. But something we see a lot of the time is where people will squat down and then those heels will start to come up. All right, and so that's a product of your weight being too far forward. So make sure your weight's back, and as you do it nice and slow. Drop down in that position, feel the weight, evenly distributed through your feet, and then coming down, keep those heels down. I can wiggle my toes at the bottom of this squat, and I'm very comfortable here. Again, at no point should not the balls of your feet, so you shouldn't be falling back, but especially not your heels, should never be coming off the ground. Again, you don't want to see this. You want to see this. Nice and stable. Again, I can wiggle my toes here. Form focus point number 3, squat to depth. So when you squat, you want to go down until your upper leg is at least parallel with the ground. So again, you're dropping those hips back, keep the heels down, and then you're at least dropping down to here, again, where this is parallel with the ground. You can drop down further, but you at least want to get down to where you're parallel. And the reason for that is, number 1, it promotes mobility of those joints, so you're going through a full range of motion, as well as getting that full range of motion for the muscles, so that your muscles are getting the most out of it, and they'll get the most strength and muscle growth benefits out of the squat if you're getting to depth. Form focus point number 4, keeping your knees in line with your toes. This might be the most important one for overall knee health. Now, something you guys may have heard a lot is your knees shouldn't go past your toes. That's not really the case. If you have long legs, your knees are going to go a little bit past your toes, and that's fine. What you really want to make sure doesn't happen is you don't want your knee going inside or outside of your toe. All right, so as I'm squatting down, my knee is staying in line with my toe the entire time, and as I come up, it stays there. All right, a lot of times you'll see people come down well, and as they come up, those knees will kind of buckle in or even buckle out. Again, you don't want to see that, because all the tendons in here throughout your knee, your ACL, MCL, LCL, are all supposed to be in a straight line with your knee. All right, so that's where you see ACL tears, where the foot stays stable and the knee goes outside of where the foot should be. All right, so again, really focus on keeping that knee in with that toe. And if those knees are buckling in as you come up, that can be a sign of lack of glute activation or maybe even glute weakness. So make sure you're working on that, but really focus on just doing it slow. Keep that knee in line with your toe, and that will, again, really help prevent any overuse injuries or any wear and tear on those tendons and ligaments that aren't really supposed to be moving out of line with your foot. Form focus point number 5, keep your spine in line. Now, this will sound really familiar from week 1 with our deadlifts, and it's the same idea and follows all the same principles. So as you're squatting, you want a straight line from your tailbone up through the back of your head. So as I'm squatting down, that spine stays completely straight. All right, a lot of times, especially when people start squatting with heavy weight, you'll see them squat down and they'll really crane that neck up, thinking it's going to bring them up. Really all it does is kind of bring your body out of alignment, and it puts the muscles in your back in an unideal position to keep your core stable. So again, by keeping your spine in line, it's going to prevent any extra tension on your neck, which can help prevent headaches and just muscle tightness through there, as well as it'll help keep your whole core stable because your spine is in a single column. So again, as I'm coming down, straight line from the back of my head to my tailbone through the entire movement. Form focus point number 6, always be in control. All right, so this has nothing to do with the tempo of your squat, because if you're training for explosiveness, you're gonna be squatting quickly, but you should never feel like you're out of control of the squat. So again, even whether you're squatting slow, you should feel all the muscles contracting, staying nice and stable throughout the whole movement. Or even if you're doing it quickly, it should still feel like you're controlling your movement. It shouldn't just be, haphazardly dropping down and just trying to get up as fast as you can. Again, just really focus on that control the entire time. Because even if I drop down quickly, I'm still in control the whole time. Or if I explode up, I'm still in control. And especially when you land, if you ever do jump squats, really control that landing. That'll really keep your knees healthy. So again, this will just help make sure you're always in proper position, always control the movement, and control every piece of your body throughout the squat. For our last form focus point, number 7, it's do what works for you. Again, this is gonna sound really similar to that deadlift because very similarly, the way you do it and the way you'll be strongest is very specific to you. So again, whether that's your foot positioning, how wide your feet are, whether they're angled straight forward or angled a little bit out, again, regardless of what your foot angle is, your knees should be in line with those feet wherever they're at. But again, you'll see some people, they'll have their feet out nice and wide and that's just where they feel strongest. Some people don't have that flexibility and they'll feel stronger, a little bit in tighter with their feet pointed forward. Again, it's all personal preference, so feel free to play around with different squat positions and figure out what works best for you. And next up, we're gonna get into a bunch of different squat variations. All right, now one quick trainer tip before we get into those variations. Again, you're gonna have that squat that works best for you, that when you're trying to do heavy weight, that's where you feel the best. But I do recommend doing other variations throughout your leg training. Because again, you'll have the one that works best, but you wanna train your legs and your hips to work in a lot of different positions. So that way they're well-rounded, they're not just strong in one position and kind of out of balance in other ways. You want them to be well-rounded, and that's gonna, again, keep your hips healthy, keep your knees healthy, as well as help prevent injuries. If you're playing a sport and your knee gets into a position that it's not used to being in, that's where it's a little bit more at risk. So again, train with different bar positions, feet widths, and again, that'll just help you be really well-rounded and help keep those legs strong in a bunch of different positions.